Hey there all, this is Ww3news. This is Renee, and I am Max Apocalypto, and we're going to be discussing some ongoing topics about current events, some pretty worrisome stuff that's happening around the globe. We're going to discuss some of the headlines in the articles, and we'll briefly read some of the descriptions of the articles, and then we'll just give our thoughts. So the first headline that we have here is in regards to situation going on in the South China Sea. It says China is ready to use military force if necessary on the United States if their territorial waters are encroached. What do you think of that? What's your opinion? Do you think Chinese have the will? Do they have the determination, to actually prevent China from entering its disputed waters, or do you think it's all just talk and bluff?
At this point, I believe China has the manpower and technology and weaponry to actually, do something about it. But most likely they won't. They've shown that, in other words, I think they're scared to do anything about it. And because there's a couple rumors going on that China was going to go help Russia. It was an aircraft carrier and some couple
J-15s.
J-15 fighter jets, bombers, but they never showed up. So that to me is showing a weakness, that they're not standing with their ally. They stand with them in the UN to veto things, but when it comes to showing actual power, they're not stepping up the game. So I believe that's, right now it's the US knows that, so it's showing its power to China, and I think actually has China scared. That's just my opinion.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens. The Communist Party of China, which is obviously the majority party, the only party pretty much there, has some pretty harsh words to say about U.S. Threatening to enter the South China Sea, where China has building dozens of these artificial islands, and they've been setting up artificial airports and military defense systems. So it would be very interesting to see what happens if within the next few weeks, if anything occurs. I find it very interesting that the Australians were actually asked by the United States to join in this naval convoy, but they basically didn't want to be part of it. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's actually a pretty good move from Australia. Try to stay out of it the most they can. I believe that's actually a good strategy. I mean, they're the ones on that side of the world who will feel the effects if war does break between them. United States, we're way over here, so it's not going to affect us as much as they'll actually affect Australia. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so yeah, that definitely would be. Also, I would say it's mostly due because of economic reasons. China is actually Australia's #1 trading partner.
That's true.
So it wouldn't really behoove the Australians to start any kind of conflict with Chinese, considering how much they import from China. And actually, China actually does buy a lot of resources, minerals from Australia. So it just wouldn't be a good trade. It wouldn't be a good business relationship. It's just like, essentially, it's like trying to provoke a fight with somebody who comes and purchases something from you quite often. It's just not good business.
According to Financial Times, they're very, very. It's a big trade partner. Yes.
Yes, #1
look
trade
that
partner.
up now.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. It could be also militarily as well. I mean, China is much closer to Australia than the United States. So in regards, kind of going to change the region here a bit. What are your thoughts on situation in Syria? I mean, I mean, obviously you hear it every once in a while on the news, but they don't seem to discuss a lot of the more specific details of all the stuff that's going on there, like supposedly there was a Turkish drone, Turkish had shot down a Russian drone. Russians denied it. Situation with the Kurds, a situation with the Cubans in there. What's some of your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, the Cubans. That's a good one there. I mean, that's someone who I least expected to actually get involved in this, especially right now that Cuba is working on better relationships with the United States, and this could kind of affect that relationship, trying to get the embargoes lifted and all that on Cuba. But at the same time, it shows how loyalty between Russia and Cuba, that there's a loyalty there, that it goes back to the Soviet Union. So I think that's a very interesting move for the Cuban government. And then just wait and see what happens. My understanding, they're going to be doing all the, going to be part of the tanks, stuff like that.
Yeah, the reason why this situation was necessary is because obviously you have the American coalition and you have the Russian coalition, and in the American coalition, supposedly you have 65 members, and in Russia's coalition, you basically just had Iran, Iraq, Syria, and essentially Iraq. And Hezbollah, which is not even Lebanon, but just a certain faction inside of Lebanon. So they kind of need to expand their legitimacy, and bringing in Cuba is essentially another country that is kind of backing up their coalition there. And as far as that also is, so in a symbolic gesture, I think that's sort of important for them. But like you said, also is the Syrian army does not have very well trained tank commanders or tank tacticians.
Yes. And according to the article, that most likely these Cuban special forces were being trained in Russia the last year or so on these new high-tech tanks.
And I can think of would be the T-90 that they had brought in, or maybe T-72s with upgrades on them. But this is one thing. This is actually a concept, and that I thought about a couple days ago. Is, I mean, yes, that's true. I mean, the Syrians don't obviously. If you look at some of the video footage on YouTube, which is just 20 of them.
Go ahead.
Basically, what I was saying is, if you have Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, which are pretty wealthy countries with a lot of sophisticated technology, I am sure that they have the decryption technology to give to the rebels, so the rebels can hear the communication between tanks and tanks. Okay,
yep.
And obviously the Syrians are speaking Arabic, which everybody there pretty much speaks, but the Cubans speak Spanish. So
yes.
when they're talking from tank to tank, these Syrian rebels will not understand what they're saying, because they will need a translator, and you're not going to find very many translators that are Arabic, whether from Turkey, Qatar, or anybody else who speak Spanish. And they also speak a specific form of Spanish, which is Cuban Spanish, which is much faster than regular Spanish.
Yeah.
So I think one of the reasons also for bringing them in there into this fight as tank commanders is for that same reason.
Yeah, and then plus they're better trained. I mean, they've shown.
They have shown that, but also I think the thing is the Cubans haven't really had very much war in the last few decades. So in regards, I mean, the last great wars they had was the big wars in Africa and Angola, in the Congo as well, and so that was back in the 60s and 70s. So primarily, and then of course Grenada. But I think, like I said, the biggest thing, I think one of the things is obviously the training, and one of the other things is communications.
Yep.
So it just makes it a lot more harder for the rebels, even if they have the decryption technology, to break the communications of the tanks and the tank commanders. They want to know what they're saying, so they won't even know what the orders are.
This is going to be very interesting to see what happens. And how do you feel about all these, actually, the air raids going on between Russia and the U.S., basically in a fishbowl, attacking ISIS and the other rebel groups? Or, of course, Russia's attacking, they're not attacking ISIS, they're attacking the moderate terrorists.
It's very conflicting a situation where bad things can happen. I know that Israel and Russia have already set up a some kind of joint communications command, so they actually inform themselves what they're going to be doing around the area. Very smart for those two countries to be doing that. United States, for some reason, in their hard-headedness, they always seem to just not want to cooperate with anybody. They always want to seem to ignore another power, whether it be China, Russia, or even sometimes they're even the close allies. They just want to bypass everybody, and they don't want to they don't want to coordinate with anybody. And like I said, I think that's very dumb. It's very reckless. I think I would agree with the Israelis having some kind of communication line between both countries in regards to these.
According to the headlines right now, let's see. Russia and the U.S. have worked out a deal, supposedly. Let's see.
There has been there has been a couple of flights where they've been a couple miles away.
The U.S. and Russia Federation near a deal on Syria flight. So I guess they're near a deal.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it's already been over 2 weeks, and that the Russians have already been in there, and the U.S. has not wanted to have any kind of communication between these targeted strikes, which I think is ridiculous. Actually, on Russian state television, there was a meeting in the beginning between some Russian commanders and some American military personnel, and they were discussing if they were going to have some kind of communication. And in the video, the American military personnel don't want any kind of a cooperation in regards to this. Essentially they want Russia to join their tactic in destroying ISIS, which is of course not going to happen because Russia has a very different idea of what the future of Syria will be.
So on that note, we'll leave it. Share this with all your friends. So for more information, up-to-date world events that may lead to the next world conflict, visit Ww3news.com. See you, everybody.